I'm Bob Colton. We're continuing our conversations in Charlotte Public Schools. Mike Bruce is with me today. And Mike, you've been on the Board of Education for a long time now. You were trying to recall how many years, 15, 16 years?
16 years, I guess.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a great number. And how have you seen things change, first on the board and then actually in Charlotte Public Schools?
Well, I think the board is, evolves eventually. We've had a lot of different members, and I've served with a lot of different people. But I think we have a good board right now. We have members who have staff that work at the district. We have people who have children. So I think we have a mix of people right now. So it's a good board. But I've seen a lot of changes for superintendents, and so it's been an interesting 16 years.
So you've survived a lot of superintendent changes, and those are folks who really come in and administer the school district in a very organized way, and there's been progress. But as you've been a board member, how do you judge whether a superintendent has been successful in what they try to do?
Well, I think you have to look at how the district functions. I think you have to look at how we relate to staff and the community and things. I guess you can look at test scores, but sometimes the superintendent's removed from that, and but I think ultimately they are the person that's responsible for the success of the district. So.
And you're the one, as a board member, you and other board members are concerned with a lot of things, but you certainly want academic progress from students in the district, don't you?
Right, absolutely. Kids are first in my mind. Whatever we do has to function to be what's best for kids. We can look at finances and look at personnel and all those things, but everything that we're doing, in my mind, is working towards what's best for kids.
Yeah. So now, as a board member, as you think of finance over these 16 years that you've been on the board, how has that really changed for a school district?
Well, we went from the regular funding to Proposal A, and now we're in a different era, I think. The state looking at so much of everything, the majority of our funding comes through the state. A lot of people still believe that it comes through property taxes, but and the federal government, federal government plays a very small portion of that. So most everything is done through through the state funding.
But as a district, you have to deal with a number of different mandates from the state and even the federal government at different levels, and that forces you to change what you do and how you do it.
Absolutely. No Child Left Behind was one of those acts that the federal government, mandated. Interesting, there was no money that went along with that, and that's a lot of the things that I see and have seen over the last 16 years is, the state mandating things, but no funding there to support those. So you find a way to support the programs that they're asking you to do.
So, Mike, this is your opportunity. You're talking to your state legislators right here. What do you tell them about being in a local school district?
I think they have to, I know they're looking at the whole state and the big picture, but I think they sometimes lose track of where we're at and what we're trying to do. In their minds, they're looking to make things better, but I'm not always sure that's the case. It's interesting to see how they think. So.
Yeah. What do you think of the whole Common Core initiative? I'd be curious as to some of your feedback in this idea that students are so mobile with their families, there should be a common core of educational experience across districts.
And I think that has a lot of merit. I think that in my mind, if they're doing what we're trying to do, I think that we're looking at going back to somewhat of basics and looking at the core curriculums and those types of things for students, and making sure, first of all, they can read and write before we send them on to the next level and stuff. So I think core curriculum has a good place, and it's an important part of where we're going.
Yeah, and so here in Charlotte, as you've sort of supported that effort, you kind of have to look at everything that you're doing to make sure that you're meeting that common core across all districts and statewide standards now.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, it's important that we follow the guidelines that they've set for us. I mean, we're measured by those, so you have to look at those types of things and make sure that we're doing what the state is requiring us to do to meet the standards.
Talk about the measurement and evaluation, because as a school district you're constantly evaluated and kids are constantly tested, and you have a lot of measuring mechanisms in place for teachers and others. It seems like a constant cycle of measurement.
It is, and and I'm not always sure that we know where we're testing and looking at those types of measurements. I mean, sometimes you're measuring children in the first part of a year that they haven't even completed through the MEP and those types of things. So I think there's, it's good to judge and to look at where we're at and those types of things, but I think that, I look at where we were 16 years ago and where we are today. Sometimes I think we're at the same spot we were then. We're trying to figure out where we want to measure it and how we want to measure it.
Yeah.
So I think it's evolving, but I'm not sure it's ever going to be a finished system.
Hey, so there are a lot of schools of choice now. Parents can have their children enrolled in any school district. What are the positive things, or what's the hook that you say about Charlotte as you're in this community? Because a parent could decide to take their kid someplace else.
I think we have a lot of things to offer that a lot of school districts don't have in this area. Performing arts being one of them, and the arts that we have here, giving children through band, choir, drama, and those types of things with a beautiful facility that we have. I think there's choices here that maybe a lot of smaller districts especially don't have because of the funding crunches that there are. I mean, we've done a good job financially trying to make all the things available to all kids. And I think that we looked at doing the best for them, in the programming that we've done.
There seems to be a great community support and spirit in Charlotte Public Schools you might not get other places. Talk a little bit about that intangible kind of factor.
Absolutely. I think Charlotte is a great place. I've lived here all but 4 years of my life, and and I'll be honest, I left here because of some of the things that I didn't think that were here, and found out when I moved away that I came back. And there are intangibles here, and that small town opportunity for kids and for teachers and even parapros, bus drivers, to know all the kids. When they get on the bus in the morning and those types of things. And there is a lot of support and enthusiasm, I think, for the school districts in Charlotte.
I've talked to a number of teachers who've come and sat in the same chair you are, and they have great enthusiasm and great knowledge to share. As a board member, you must be tremendously complimented by the professionals and teaching staff that you have in Charlotte.
We have a great teaching staff, I think. Right now we have a lot of young teachers, which is, is always a positive for me. Kids coming out of college with great ideas, and even the senior staff members can learn some things from them, as well as the young teachers can learn from the senior staff. So I think we have a great mix, and not only professionally, but I think we have great administrators, bus drivers, all the way down to the food service here. I think we have a great system in place.
Well, a good system, and also pretty good facilities. The school board, the Board of Education, has really made facilities and a significant investment in what you have, and they're in pretty good shape, aren't they?
They are, and that's been by the support of the community. The community has certainly supported us through bonds and through proposals. We wouldn't have the facilities if the community hadn't supported it and taken care of it. But yeah, I mean, performing arts, the aquatic center. I mean, we just redid the gym and locker rooms and those types of things. We built new classrooms this last 2 years. There's been a lot of things done, heating and cooling system done to update them. It's interesting, people say, well, that new elementary school you have out there, Parkview, and 32 years old, but you know, it looks like brand new.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, and that's been a problem in years past. I mean, when people drive by our buildings, see how nice they look from the outside. You know, what they don't realize that they're old on the inside and need some updating. So
Sure. So that's a constant cycle for a Board of Education member to be making that investment and do you ever get to a point where you think, you know, maybe some of these things are cost prohibitive? I know that transportation is a big investment for a school district like Charlotte, but you have to get kids to school, don't you?
Absolutely. I mean, we went to double bus runs a few years ago, and people said, "Oh my gosh, you're running back out there twice to pick up the same kids in the same area, but you're doing it with half as many buses." So, you know, you're trying to be as efficiently as we can always. I mean, we're always looking at that. And then again, we're looking at what's best for kids. I mean, that's the ultimate decision for us, is what's best for kids.
Yeah. And so as you process that, you've had great achievement with young people. You must be proud, as a board member, to see kids, you know, move through the school system and then move on to a university level or some other professional thing. So you're here in town. You hear it from a lot of people, don't you?
We do. You know, I'll tell you, the two most exciting nights of the year for me are honors convocation and graduation. You know, because that's an opportunity for us to see the efforts of what we've done all year long and in the past years, and see kids reach their goals and achieve what they're looking to do and move on. We have a friend of ours, and their daughter just got a 4-year full-ride scholarship to Central Michigan, and you just couldn't be more excited for them and the opportunities, and you know, that we've given them. So that they have that chance.
So when a young person comes through the Charlotte Public School system, what do you hope that they leave with? What sort of tools do you hope that they go out into the rest of their academic career or professional career?
You know we all talk about what they're going to do educationally. I hope they leave here with social skills and to be able to do the things that they need to do. Work in a group with other people, be able to go to a college and live in a dormitory and those types of things that are not necessarily things that you can teach, you know, but I think that our staff and our teachers do a good job of that, making kids, even at the lower levels, you know, the elementaries and the upper L, I hear that a lot, where we're trying to get kids to work together, trying to get them to be, you know, good citizens, and, you know, we've got a lot of things in place for them to do that.
Well, and so you mentioned technology. As a board member, it must scare you as you invest in technology how quickly it changes, because, you know, you're right, young people have to have communication skills, but now even to communicate, they do it in such a technology advanced world.
Absolutely. I mean, you know, we put the iPads in place a couple of years ago, and you know, you look at that and you go, how long will they last? How long will we have to do something? You know, you're always having to do technology. I mean, even if you look back, I mean, you look from the Industrial Revolution forward, I mean, that we're always doing things to better, you know, opportunities for kids and things like that. But technology moves very rapidly.
Can you imagine what it would be like if you had that kind of technology? and me, I mean, we spent time at the library and looking things up, and just did not have the access to information that young people have today.
We look through an encyclopedia, now they Google everything and find everything they need online.
Yeah.
You know, which is, you know, I think is wonderful. I mean, it gives kids an opportunity to find things that maybe they wouldn't have found in a book or a dictionary or an encyclopedia. So I mean, it's exciting for me to see the opportunities that kids have today, and not have to be in a classroom. Maybe they can do it virtually and do all those types of things. That's you know, I think it's really pretty neat.
And so, what's the role of parents in this changing kind of academic and social environment that we have in public education? What do parents have to do? What do you need them to do to make sure their kids are successful?
They need to be involved in their kids' lives. They need to know where they're at and what they're doing with their iPads and their computers and those types of things. I mean, not just leave them alone. I mean, I think it's more now today than ever that parents really need to be involved in their kids' lives and know where they're at and what they're doing and where they're advancing to. Are they where they should be, you know, and those types of things in their education, because we give those tools to the parents. and they need to use those.
Yeah.
So I think it's important.
And those parental demands are more, those
Oh, yeah.
expectations are higher. What happens if a parent isn't involved in their child's education?
Well, you see the things that happen, and where kids go to places where they shouldn't, and those types of things with technology. Not everybody, but I think it's difficult if a parent's is not engaged with their child and helping them. I think that's a struggle for me as a board member. Why wouldn't you be involved in your child's education and where they're at and what they're doing? So.
Why do you think Charlotte Public Schools are attractive to young families?
Well, I think we have a lot to offer here. It is a growing community, and we're close to a lot of things. I mean, you're 20 minutes away from Michigan State, the state of Michigan, and all the things that they offer, as well as the facilities that we have here, as we mentioned before, CPAC and the Aquatic Center, good sports, and good education for kids. I mean, I think we can match up with almost any district around us, that we are academically, helping kids to move forward and be advanced.
And you mentioned sports. I want to talk just a little bit about that. The role of athletics in conjunction with education becomes pretty important because it helps keep a lot of kids interested and active in school, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And there's a lot of learning that goes on there too. Working together as a team and how you function as a team. You're not one person, you are part of an organization or a team, whether it's swimming, basketball, golf. I mean, even golf, that's, you are an individual, but you're on a team with other members. So I think that teaches kids, and it keeps them involved.
Yeah.
It really does.
So, Mike, what do you think the challenges are for the Board of Education in future years? You've been a board member for 16 years. I don't know how much longer you will do it, but as you look ahead, what do you think the challenges are for those boards ahead?
I think financial issues are going to always be there for boards coming ahead, and I think technology and how do we keep kids current, how do we compete with other school districts in the area, I think are going to be major things that that boards are going to have to face. It's a changing world every day. I mean, we're moving away from books as we speak today, and probably won't have actually textbooks like we know them today. And I think those boards are going to have to be challenged as how do you move forward, and what direction do you move in, making sure that you're moving in the right directions.
Isn't it fascinating that books have become an ancient tool
Yeah,
now in the
absolutely.
education process?
Yeah. Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
And we still have to invest in books because it's a way to share knowledge outside or even inside the classroom. But books become important, and now as a board member, you have to think about other technology and video and other applications that come in on the computer. So those are a lot of critical decisions from an investment perspective, and you invest in facilities and people and transportation and service. And how do you sort it all out as a board member? What kind of advice do you give to others?
Well, it becomes a challenge. I mean, you have to prioritize where you want to be and where you want this district to be. I mean, we're always looking at strategic planning, and tonight, I mean, that's a part of where we are tonight, is a self-evaluation of the board and where do we want to be, as individuals and as a group. So I think you'll always have that, but I think it's going to be a challenge over the next 10 years as maybe brick and mortar schools are going to be less and less. I mean, we're going to have more opportunities for kids to go online and do virtual things, take classes at universities. They don't have to be here all the time.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and so how do you evaluate yourselves as a board?
Well,
share your thoughts and your perspective.
That's interesting, Bob. But I think that we need to look at where we are. I think where our kids are at. How are they achieving, and are they moving forward, and are we doing the things for them that they need to do? I mean, that's as I said, it's all about kids, and we need to make sure that they're first. Yeah. And I mean, our staff and those people are important as well. But I think the kids, and I think we evaluate ourselves on how well our kids do.
So if the kids are successful, that really is an evaluation measure of board success and whether or not you've provided them with what they need. And also there are probably a lot of staff issues, morale and other things that you have to.
Absolutely.
But there are always a lot of opinions on any board, and that's something that you've had to deal with. The boards have really changed over time, haven't they?
They have, yeah. I mean, you have different people who are there for different reasons, and but we all have to come together in the end. I mean, we all have a different opinion most of the time, and that's okay. But we all have to be able to agree on something that moves us forward. So, I mean, our job is to evaluate, the superintendent, and then she evaluates her administrators and things, and we make sure that the things are being done. And it isn't always easy. I mean, we don't agree on everything, and that's okay. It's okay not to agree.
But this is the system we set up so that there is public engagement in public education.
Absolutely.
And it seems to be a pretty healthy system. How would you encourage others to communicate better? Because it always seems that as technology changes and how we communicate on a different levels, you really have to do that to be an efficient board, don't you?
Oh yeah. I mean, communication is something we talk about at almost every meeting. How can we communicate better? Do we do it through robocalls? I mean, there's lots of different ways to do it. I mean, people don't read the paper like they used to. Right. We have a local paper, but you say, geez, did you see it in the paper? Oh no, I never saw that, So I think communication will always be a challenge. I mean, whether you do it by computers or you do it by, all types of things. But I still think that face-to-face in talking with people, you still have to do that. I mean, you have to listen to people. Give them the opportunity to share their experiences and what they see for the district. I mean, we do represent, the district. So I think you have to listen.
Well, Mike Bruce, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure to listen to you in this conversation.
I've enjoyed it. Thank you.
I'm Bob Colt, and we'll continue our conversations in Charlotte Public Schools.